Hello, welcome to Scary Thoughts, Horror, Philosophy, Culture. I'm Marc Kate.
And I am Chad Lott.
This is episode 102. We're going to be talking about Stranger Things, Season 4, Part 1. And we will be following up. Probably our very next episode will be about Stranger Things Season 4, Part 2, when they release those episodes. You can reach us at scarythoughts.org. That's WHATTHE at scarythoughts.org. And we have some stuff to plug. Go.
Yeah, we were both on the Overlook Hour.
Separately,
which is pretty fun. Yeah. I think like they're very different episodes.
They're very different episodes.
Which I think is hilarious. And I don't know whose episode is better. I think I like.
Someone took a poll online.
Yeah, I wonder what the answer was. Lord Battle took a poll, so we'll see what the answer was.
I'm curious.
My favorite thing is how he's always like, people are asking about like when the next episode is. Like people don't ask me when the next episode is. You know, it's like we have like 12 fans. 4 of them are like gay art professors. The rest of them collect synthesizers and live in the woods.
And thank you, 12 people, for listening to this episode.
And just to be clear, you guys are our people for sure. I love all of you.
Yeah. Yeah, we were both on the Overlook Theater podcast very recently. They're both really fun episodes.
I love that show.
They covered a lot of ground. Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, like I feel like they are where I get most of my like horror film news because they watch everything, you know, and they're on top of it.
They're deep in it.
And I fucking like I like all those guys, but the one I know the least is probably Clark. I think he is fucking hilarious because he's like got that real like Southern pride thing like I do, but he still has his accent, so it just sells it more. It's like so good. And you know, he has like this like whole like when he's talking about like his troubles with ordering fast food, this shit just makes me laugh so fucking hard because I relate to it so much.
Those same guys also do a film festival.
They do the Unnamed Footage Festival, which is all in camera, like found footage. I guess they're mostly horror films. So there's 1 or 2 sci-fi films or whatever. But I think they're a good follow and good listen online because they catch a lot more of like the newer, radder shit than we do.
Yeah.
And their show is a lot more frequent. So
they're asking if we would present a movie live in person. And I, of course, am totally game because I'll get up on a stage with a microphone any chance I get. But are you willing to? I think you said if you were able to wear an orc costume or something like that. Is that true? Because that would be great.
It was not an orc costume. It was some sort of ensemble.
Yeah.
I've been considering like switching up my wardrobe to looking like an 80s prep, like just Izod shirts and white shorts.
But you would cut off the sleeves of your Izod shirts, right?
No.
I thought you're sleeveless now.
Well, I am sleeveless most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was also thinking of like a Tom Ford thing, you know, how sometimes he dresses in a tuxedo and sometimes he dresses like a cowboy and it's like only one of the two.
Right.
I was thinking it would be camo shorts, sleeveless metal shirts like usual, or like Risky Business, Tom Cruise.
Gross.
One of the two. Yeah.
Anything else before we get into this?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
All right. Spoilers ahead. So where do you want to start?
Well, I listened to our season 3 episode, which was 3 years ago.
3 years?
That? Yeah, it was like episode 61 or something. Wait,
we did season 3?
Yeah.
Did we skip season 2?
No, we've
done
closer.
Every season.
Yeah, 1 and 2 were close together.
I didn't realize we were so completist about this show that neither of us actually loves.
Yeah, well, so that's not true because I went back and listened to our earlier episodes where we talked about, and we were effusive in our praise for season 1. I think we were very excited about it, like a lot of people were, and then still enjoyed season 2 quite a bit, but you know, we're a little like, we can see the shittiness coming.
Yeah.
And then season 3, I think we remained hopeful and there were things about it that were fun enough for us to like kind of overall get it. And it was I, for one, was smoking a ton of weed. So a lot of my like enjoyment of it was simply just passively watching it.
Yeah.
And then this season, I watched it stone cold sober the whole way through, and it felt really long because the episodes are very long.
Yeah.
But I think in conversation with other people, I think both of us in the Overlook Hour talked about how much we thought it sucked. And I think it's like thoroughly in decline, but could have a rallying season and finish strong.
True.
Yeah. And I also think that my whole theory about this basically being a riff on the X-Men Dark Phoenix saga is thoroughly correct. Because the first episode of the season is called the Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
Issue 129 of the X-Men, which is like a little bit before, it's the beginning part of the Dark Phoenix saga, is about the Hellfire Club. That's when the Hellfire Club in the X-Men comics, and there's sort of this like group of body evil mutants who have like a sex dungeon. And through the machinations of one of their members, the White Queen, who is Emma Frost, who is now, I believe, sort of an X-Men hero, but was a villain, she sort of like manipulates Jean Grey and unleashes a little bit of her dark side, which ultimately ends up being Dark Phoenix. So I think that's a clue. But I had said that I thought that 11 would be eventually they would make her a very dangerous character, and I was so right on about that.
Yeah. I think as far as that's concerned, the one thing that I definitely do like about this season plot-wise is that it was starting to go down this road that looked really bad, where they were going to go, oh, it wasn't actually 11 who killed all those people. All those flashbacks, all of her angst about these atrocities that she's committed. Oh, great, now we're going to forgive her. And everything that was interesting about her is just going to rise off of her, and now she gets to be pure hero. And that is what happened. But the fact that she basically caused the big bad of season 4 actually makes it interesting. You know, it kind of twisted around that in a way that I appreciated.
I can barely remember what happened. One of the funny things is in episode 3, we talked about how the show was like remarkably free of villainous trifling.
Yes.
They fucking saved it up for season 4. Oh my God. It was just the lamest villain expository dump that I have seen in a really long. I think this villain is pretty stupid. And I liked that before all the cosmic horror elements were just unknowable monsters from beyond, and they sort of like were like, we're playing D&D and we just fought a Demogorgon, so I guess it's a Demogorgon. Like it seemed more like they were just sort of like naming this darkness. But by giving it like a conversational, knowable character with a stupid motivation, I think it really is not great for the show. I think it's pretty fucking terrible. And I think that the character design looks terrible. It's like Freddy Krueger meets Skeletor in the Dolph Lundgren He-Man movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the makeup is pretty fucking stupid. Like I think the villain is like really bad. But I think the other elements of the show are as fun as they've always been.
Yeah. It took me a long time to get into it, but it kind of eventually, parts of it won me over. I don't like how completely interchangeable all the characters are in this season, and that might just be very subjective for me, but I kind of, in this season, I just don't care about anybody, and I can't remember what any single character has done of note. I mean, obviously 11 has her own singular journey, but the rest of them are just kind of running around, and I kind of could never remember who went in what direction to go accomplish what goal. And it kind of feels like each season of this show is like a D&D module, which I think is all right. It's a good a frame as any to hang a plot on. But this season just feels like there are 3 MacGuffins, and nothing anybody does is really essential. It's like, you know, a MacGuffin is by definition sort of irrelevant, but so are their actions towards solving the plot problems that the MacGuffins introduce. None of it feels so urgently essential towards solving anything. Is that just me?
No, I think that's a consequence of the episodes being so long.
Maybe.
But I also think that like there's a strong possibility, and we'll see how true this is or isn't, that it just all comes together in a really satisfying way. Like if this is a book, this could be as wide as this is happening. You know what I mean? Like The Lord of the Rings, for instance, characters go off for dozens of pages doing different things.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it could all come together, but I think some elements of it just felt really draggy. Like the whole Morty's mind blowers thing with 11, I thought was really tedious. It just took a long time. It's like, yeah, she's tortured by these memories, and we're going to show them. I mean, how many of those individual like bullying in the school thing do you need? You know, like I thought that was it. I thought the Russia stuff was really drag, like the prison stuff,
so
just
boring.
really boring. But what's the dude's name that hangs with Winona Ryder's character?
Hopper?
No, not Hopper. The new guy.
I
Maury.
hate that actor. He's not funny.
What is it, Maurice? Maury?
Maybe.
I can't remember, out of total lack of respect for it. I did think the karate thing is pretty funny. I like that Hollywood sort of like agreed to revive karate as a viable martial art, like a la Cobra Kai.
Right.
I wish karate worked like it did in this in this show and Cobra Kai. But listeners, it does not. And if you're like that one fucking weird dude out there that did Shotokan in the 90s and it was real fucking tough, you should have done something else.
Well, I think he's a problem. His character's a problem, I think, for me, because he's always a sort of forced comic relief and it's never funny. And the number of times this season tried to be funny and failed, and that includes, what's the stoner character's name? The pizza delivery guy?
We'll talk about the fucking Jar Jar Binks of Stranger Things in a little while.
Do we want to put a pin in that for a moment?
Let's put a pin in how much I fucking hate Argyle, because I got a rantaroo coming.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to just pile hate on this show, because it obviously does some things that are engaging enough and interesting enough.
I still love the characters. Like the individual characters, I still... But there was kind of adore them.
There was so much played for comedy that wasn't funny at all. And I think that was mostly around the whole Russia trip. The Winona Ryder constantly just doing a zoinks expression in view of the camera.
Yeah.
And it was never funny.
I feel like she's been
It was embarrassing.
I feel like she's been terrible the whole series.
Maybe.
I think that she might be my least favorite element of the show. I find that whenever like she's the main focus, it gets so melodramatic and tedious.
Yeah.
And I love her like as much as like she's the reason why I love goth girls.
I mean, definitely nothing she does in this season is interesting. Like again, I think the entire Russia plot line is tedious because they have one job: go get Hopper, and it takes 4 hours of screen time. And again, it's got a lot of comedy, including slapstick. None of it's funny. It takes a really long time. We know what the objective is. Hopper's in prison. They tried to pay someone off. Dragging it out seemed really unnecessary because it didn't... all of the details of his escape and they're trying to get to him, none of it adds anything. It didn't add tension. It didn't progress the plot along. We didn't learn anything interesting about the characters, so it was just kind of dead weight in the series.
Yeah, and I think tone, like I don't mind that the series shifts between horror and comedy. Like I think that's totally fine.
Sure.
And is actually one of the...
But it's got to be funny when it's funny.
Well, yeah, it does have to be funny. It's funny, but I think that Hopper's experience is so like Steve McQueen, Papillon, and dark.
Yeah.
And then they're like spies like us.
Yeah.
Trying to get him out, and those and having that like whole storyline have those oscillating things where it's like to me it almost feels like, okay, they're going to get him out, obviously,
exactly,
right? But like it makes the horrors that he's experiencing seem sort of, and they're also so over the top. Like what they do to him would have killed anybody, right?
Right.
So like that storyline feels so unbelievable to me. Look, it's a show where like a psychic bald girl fights space demons or whatever. So I mean, like,
yeah,
like it's stupid to even criticize it from that. But like, just because it took so long, it just felt really draggy. Things I think work really well. The relationship between the former Ships Ahoy employees, like what's the Steve?
Whatever.
Yeah, Steve and Uma Thurman's daughter.
Yep.
I can't remember any of these characters' names. I haven't been smoking any weed either. I love the way their relationship developed. Like,
Really?
I think well, here's the thing. Like, I think it's just he was like, fell off his game and was in the dumps and met her. And I really love like that he was attracted to her because she's a cute girl that he works with, and that's how romance happens. And her being gay. And then him just being like, okay, cool. I guess we'll be lesbros now. I like that dynamic because I've had friendships like that in the past that I think it just reminds me of friendships that I have. And I like that he's kind of like back in the saddle in this season. Like he's gotten his mojo back. He's kind of like the Thor, like Double Toasted made this point that he's kind of the Thor of this show, that he's like a silly, good looking hero character. And even he gets like the vest. He gets the fucking Dio vest that kind of levels him up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's fun. I like that Dustin continues to be an ultra competent character in a Cormac McCarthy MacGyver sort of way. I like that. I think the character Lucas is worse than ever before. I think his sister is worse and more annoying
terrible.
than ever before.
She's not. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And it's not like, again, yes, criticizing a show like Stranger Things for being realistic is silly, but the nonsense that her character delivers is so shoehorned in. It's dreadfully uncomfortable.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking about was like a shift that happened in the show in general. I think in season 1 and most of season 2, these kids were like kids that could have lived during that age, but like in the more magical younger Goonies age. And the show sort of intentionally shifts. And like if you listen to the show creators and runners, it goes from like Goonies the Gate to Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Breakfast Club. And I don't think some of the actors and characters are charismatic enough for the John Hughes vibe.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah. That's very true.
They're earnest enough for a Spielbergian feel, but like the John Hughes thing they're trying to pull off, they're just not comedically gifted enough to do it.
Yeah.
And that might be
or written well enough.
Or written, yeah, like
because that the thing about John Hughes movies is they are really well written. Those characters are very deep and developed, and the way it plays out on screen is really deftly pulled off.
Yeah, I think that like the X-Men DNA shows through in a way because in the X-Men comics, especially the Dark Phoenix era, they would do something in the Danger Room. They would like train for something, and then they would go face something in the world using that. So there was the fastball special, which is when Colossus would literally throw Wolverine at something. And they practice it in the Danger Room, and then they do it later. And this show has a lot of that. Like they're like, I'm going to do something zany with the walkie-talkies. And then later on, the zany thing they did with all walkie-talkies plays off. Or like, I've got a compass, like, gay! And then they're like, the compass ends up being a big deal, you know?
Right.
Like, I think that stuff is Easter eggy and kind of fun.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Hesher character?
I think
he's like a heartthrob right now. People are like losing their minds.
Really?
Oh yeah, people are thirsty for this dude.
Interesting, but I would assume
the Eddie Munson character, like people are like got real boners for that character.
I think he's a good character. I think some of his moments are way overboard. Mm-hmm. And it was one of his big explosive scenes that made me realize that one thing that's uncomfortable about season 4, and I didn't think of it in the terms of it moving into John Hughes territory, but it really made me realize the degree to which so many of the elements of this show are played up to a children's TV show level of caricature, exaggeration, and things like that. But now the characters are older and they're trying to introduce a new tone to it, but it's still like a children's TV show. And I think he's one of those elements where he's playing like excessively, exaggeratedly, foolishly big, unrealistically big in a way that tonally doesn't work when then the next scene it's all kind of serious. I feel like the tonal pendulum, it can swing around, and a positive part of this show is the way it does all these different things in the same show. But I think it doesn't work that it's kind of simultaneously like, that might work for an 11-year-old kid watching TV, and then suddenly there's adult content in the next scene.
Yeah.
I don't think they rub shoulders very well, and I feel like he was part of that. He was just so exaggerated.
Yeah.
That it didn't work for me, even though there's a lot about his character that I appreciated.
Yeah, I really wanted to love that character because, like, I think they nailed his look. He looks like straight up 1986 Kurt Hammett, or like that fucking poodle haircut, which was like the first haircut to go when grunge came in. And then I thought that he reminded me of a type of dude that was around when I would play D&D. Like when I was like really young player, like 13, 14 years old, there would always be like a 17 or 18-year-old kid who seemed cool to us because we were nerds, and he just knew more about the nerd stuff that we were into. But in the larger ecosystem of high school, that's just a fucking incel, And so I really liked how amongst the kids and his crew, he's very bold. And when he gets out amongst other people, he was kind of a fucking, loser. But I was really hoping that there would be more between him and the cheerleader. I thought there was just I thought the scene between him and the girl when he's like selling her drugs.
Yeah.
I really liked that scene.
It had potential.
I was bummed that she like died right after, because I was like, oh, this is like so interesting. Like this like Hesher and this cheerleader kind of fall for each other. And, I was waiting for like a Montague and Capulet sort of thing, which I thought would be really cool. Yeah. I think the jocks are terrible. And like they're like, I
really hope we're done with them, because I think they're not in maybe the last 2 episodes of part 1. I feel like I haven't seen them in a while, and I was so relieved because it was just, again, kind of played for laughs in a way, not funny, played for terror, not scary. Well, they're just caricatures of. Also, especially the main guy.
Yeah,
he is doing that unforgivable thing of acting like a 27-year-old law student every time he speaks, every time he yells.
And his power is to be like Joel Osteen. It's like like a mega preacher. Like he like when he starts talking, like he like inspires everybody around him. So he has
the town.
He has this weird like charisma, and I think that like that whole thing would have been better off toned down to like Chet from Weird Science, like that, like just a fucking villain without this weird. But they're trying to make this broader statement about the satanic panic through that character, but that didn't come through fellow teenagers. It came from like adults, like being shitty, like
Well, bringing them up brings me to another one of the things that I really hate about this season is there is so much sneering. There is so much like villainous teeth gnashing. Mm-hmm. Those characters spend so much time just seething and snarling and hamming it up for the camera. And you go to Russia, oh, you American, and then the townspeople, they're so angry.
Well, these are Stephen King bullies. Like there's like one in there, but there needs to be like one, and he's like a meta threat.
Right. But the cops do it, or like the security guards in the facility where Eleven's kept. Mm-hmm. They're just like, they're just staring her down and snarling. We're gonna get you, and it's this constant reification of like, yeah, we know they're security guards. We know they're pawns. Mm-hmm. We know that these jocks are bad guys. We know that these Russians hate Americans, but having them doesn't make them worse. It makes them silly. And the camera just hangs on that moment constantly for way too long. And it kind of less would be more,
Well, like, I mean, back to the whole John Hughes thing. Like if this was a John Hughes movie, or even think about like A Christmas Story, there's a bully and a toady. And it kind of works, because but now, like you said, like there's like these dispersed antagonists, and I mean, there's a lot going on in this. Like it's kind of an epic show, and it's pretty broad.
But I guess I'm saying it's also that they're all doing the exact same facial expression, and it's taking up a long time. A villain doesn't need to be shown clenching his fists and looking angry and shaking and snarling at the camera. Yeah,
it's not a subtle show, man. Yeah.
God.
Speaking of not subtle, the Jar Jar Binks of Stranger Things 4. Fucking
I wanted to like him so much.
Well, so apparently he's a cool actor. I've never seen him before. I'm shocked to learn that is his real hair. It is very long and luxurious and looks like a wig. And I guess he's friends with like Lil B or something like that. So he's like one of these like
Is that a rapper?
I don't know, man. I'm too old for this to know about it. But he's the worst fucking character on the show because, like, okay, in horror already has self-corrected the idea of what stoners are to society. Like the idea that they're just like derp, like shaggy characters.
Yes.
You know, that is a thing of the past. And you know, you get the dude from Cabin in the Woods, like Pineapple Express. Like I think, you know, like I would throw myself into this mix. But you know, people who hit it hard but see beyond. And I was like, oh, cool, there's a stoner character. He's going to like have some sort of like crazy shamanistic insight here. And he doesn't. He just drives the van, Mystery Machine style. And it's a complete and total waste. It's a bummer. Like I think that they
and
had
he's pretty incompetent.
Yeah, like he's not a competent character. Like the scene where they find the thing in the pen. That's a perfect moment for a stoner to solve that problem. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
like, oh shit, this guy's actually seeing in different ways than we do. Like he's, you know, Eddie Bravo, 10th Planet styling this whole scenario.
Right.
And the character just doesn't play that role. But I do love and appreciate his attraction to the Mormon girl.
That was cute.
And and then this whole show asserts my belief of Mormon superiority.
You're really going to have to explain that one to me.
Well, okay. Every single Mormon person I know to a person is awesome. Like they're great people. Like they're the people who would
I think I've only ever known ex-Mormons. Like
even ex-Mormons are pretty
ex-Mormons.
interesting. Like I think that like Jack Mormons, you know, people who leave the church or whatever, they are the most exceptional versions of I left my family behind that I know. You know what I mean? So, and they're the reason why I know it's not all hunky-dory and perfect. So we have like these awesome rabble-rousing people who've left their faith who are cool. And the people who are still in it seem really like just capable, like awesome people. So I personally have this really fond feeling towards Mormons. And this Mormon family is awesome. Like every person in the family is a badass. You got like the John Waters film director kid.
I did like that a lot, actually.
But like
I did like that whole house. It was cute.
Yeah, yeah. And it has a very Royal Tenenbaums feel to it.
Oh, God, yeah. Of course.
Like a bunch of wild shit going on.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think that the hacker girl would have been as naive and stupid. Like I think that like they made her weirdly incompetent in a way, but maybe she's supposed to be autistic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that autism isn't
I did like,
but you know.
I know what you mean. I did like they brought her back. That was nice. Good to see her again.
Is that a character you need to bring back though?
But it was nice to have the characters go reach outside their circle for help.
Yeah.
To reach out into the extended community.
Well, how about this? Like if you were going to reach out for somebody in your extended community for help, how about the person in your punk rock gang who also has superpowers from the same program? Like where is that character now?
Who? What?
You remember when Eleven goes off and does her Morlocks adventure with the New Mutants?
Yeah.
And there's like the other character that can make people see bugs and stuff.
Of the series.
Oh my God. Well, we talked about in the last season. I didn't quite love it as much as you did, but I thought it had the potential of opening up like a Repo Man feeling element.
Yeah.
And so I think if they had continued on with that like dirty Suburbia LA, the movie Suburbia, that would have been pretty cool. But instead they went like Fast Times and Ridgemont High.
Little.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
I guess that would be the most, that SoCal analog, right?
Yeah, I guess. Probably doing a little bit of, not Dazed and Confused. What am I thinking of? Doesn't matter. Whatever.
I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of like Bones Brigade video influence in the California stuff.
Yeah.
Like Gleaming the Cube-esque shit.
Ew. So, okay. It's in its fourth season. The veneer of Retromania and all this shit has, you know, it even worked its magic on you and I, and we're predisposed to be tired of that sort of thing even before the series arrived. But it worked on us for a while, and it's definitely not fresh anymore. But the series clearly continues to be really successful in a lot of ways and really captures a lot of people's imagination, even people who complain about it. What do you think is the reason for it persevering in the popular imagination.
Well, I think overall it's pretty well done. And I think that to be concerned with like retromania and repetition of subcultural cycles and what it does to culture broadly, you have to be a fucking dork, you know, like you have to be like us. And I think most people are simply pleased with what it is for it is. And I think it was very comforting during the pandemic. I think, I just kind of just want to see it through or whatever. Yeah, I think that it's on balance, there's a lot to it that's really fun. But the last time we talked about it, we said that it was going to be like the Macarena. Like it was going to be big, have a lot of cultural influence for its moment, but then in a few years, nobody would remember it. And I think that's probably going to be true.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there will be like, there was like a bazillion 11 Eggo waffle memes for like a hot minute. I don't think in like 5 to 10 years, people are going to be dressing up as 11 for Halloween. I don't know.
Maybe. I think that one thing that might explain why it's popular with kids, and maybe everybody, but with kids. And I actually got this idea from my friend Jesse, that kids, like for example, my niece is 13. She loves this show, and she's coming to town soon. We're going to go to the Stranger Things experience.
Super fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Like a 15-minute walk from my house. Is that when you watch this show, you get to see kids being kids without helicopter parents. You get to see like the thing that is immortalized in Goonies and Stephen King movie adaptations of just like a bunch of kids wandering and exploring the world, which is something that in so much of America is just gone. It's over. Kids don't get to explore.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. Quarantine was really bad for kids, and they're all fucking depressed. There's a lot of stress, a lot of angst, a lot of kids that are really unhappy, and they're all on social media, and they're all miserable on social media, and so they stay on social media. And what's really nice about Stranger Things is it's these kids actually engaging with each other and going out into the world and taking it on, which strikes me as, so basic, but I guess that's not something to be taken for granted. Kids getting on their bikes and going and dealing with something in real life together. It's really is the exception, not the rule. Whereas
God, now that I think about it, it's so sad.
Well, it is, and it's funny because I really want to be hesitant to anytime I have the urge to do it was better in my day, because 99% of the world was fucking terrible in the 80s. Like I deeply, deeply believe in the Steven Pinker. Pinkerton is the name of a Weezer album, isn't it? Pinker. The world's just getting better. We're having, there's always backsliding. There's always reactivity. But
I think he's looking at the wrong data points and is a moron.
Okay. But nonetheless, like at least the kind of world that I want to live in, most things have gotten better. And more people are fed, more people are educated, more people are living longer. Generally,
but what are they being fed? What are they being taught? What are they doing with
delicious facts?
Yeah, it's fucking Beyond Meat and liberal studies. Fuck that life.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess we disagree.
Yeah. I say live to 28 and eat raw meat and kill your enemies. That's the way to live.
So anyway, there was lots fucked up in the 80s. It was not a better time. And there's a lot about my childhood. Like, no, it wasn't better for me as a kid than it is for younger generations. Like there's a lot that, like, again, my nieces, like there's a lot of things that like, I am so happy it is the world is the way it is for them. And it wasn't for me. But the one thing, I very firmly believe that is fucked up is my friends and I would play street hockey until we literally couldn't see what we were doing because it was so dark Canadian. Out. So Canadian. But like just disappear all day and see what happens. And it was great.
Yeah, I think there's like more impulse towards like forced homogeneity now than there was. Like,
for sure.
I was listening to the Overlook Hour and they had that woman Annie Hardy on their podcast, and I guess was a musician and she's in that movie Dashcam.
I really want to see that.
And I heard it's pretty great. And I had never heard of her before, but she's like one of these like every conspiracy is true all at once. And she's kind of like a fun, charismatic speaker and has like kind of a raspy voice. Do you know the conspiracy theorist, the guy that works at the beauty bar Mustachio?
No.
The guy with the mustache, he's a classic San Francisco character.
I'm picturing like 7 different people.
He was in a band called The Immigrant.
No.
Lee Sayer or something like that. Anyway, I'm friends with him on Facebook because everybody who was a bartender at the time I was a bartender is friends with on Facebook. But it's like every single thing is a conspiracy that ladders up to another conspiracy. And
is this a game or is this?
No, this is like literally like this is like Alex Jones type shit. So she's kind of like an indie rock Alex Jones. And she said this thing in an interview I listened to her that she doesn't listen to music, popular music. She doesn't watch TV. She doesn't watch movies. And in doing so, she's become a better artist and more creative.
Well, of course.
And what's interesting though is that's exactly what Schopenhauer says. He says that like the person who fills their mind with too much external triviality is going to never be able to create anything or create a thought. And I think that's kind of how it was back then. Like at least, you know, you go outside and I remember like making up games.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd be like, okay, if I can hit you with this battery before you can touch that car, you're out.
Oh,
and like just stuff like that, you know?
Oh, for me, it was like, let's see how far on the ice out on the lake we can get before we fall through the ice.
Yeah. But you would have like, you'd make up games and you'd go outside and you figure them out, or like you'd play like kick the can and like you didn't really have the rules right because you just heard about it from somebody else, you know?
Well, if I may, this was Canada, so it's a little different, but also like playing kick the can in a neighborhood where everyone's yard is fair game in the entire neighborhood. Like you can literally run through strangers' yards because nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like you're just exploring.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids can just roam.
Yeah, like our whole street's neighborhood was like a BMX track, but you know, like you could jump off of somebody's fucking carport, no problem. And this is for sure old man nostalgia stuff right here, you know. But I think that's just better for a brain. You know, like have you listened to these like stories about there's these moms who are like have this like feral kid movement or something like that where they're like I guess some kid was on a train by herself in New York. She's like 11 years old, and somebody like called Child Protective Services, and the mom was like, "Oh, it's free range children. That's the name of the whole thing."
Yes.
And these kids like weirdo,
not feral, free range.
Yeah, but these kids like that are raised this way tend to outperform their peers on fucking everything.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah, who'd have thought? Like, but you know, you set your kids up for this like pre-Matrix slave life where they're just like door dashing chicken McNuggets and playing Call of Duty all day,
watching other people play,
which is even darker. It's so crazy.
That just like we're talking about kick the can. Mm-hmm. Imagine being a kid who, oh, what'd you do last night? Oh, I stared out my window and watched the other kids in the neighborhood play kick the can. You'd be you have problems.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What was the youngest age you were chased by the police?
11?
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. What for?
Setting fire to
fireworks.
I'm not going to say. No. We were making shit ourselves. We didn't have fireworks. We were making incendiary devices by scratch.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was pretty good.
Yeah. See, America used to have its own potential for the Taliban, and it's just gone.
Well, this was Canada even. So,
yeah. Even better. Probably Quebecois separatists in action. It was.
Oh, God.
What do kids do now if they get chased by the police? They go, "Stop oppressing me!" You're like, what? My mom says you should be defunded. She voted for Bernie. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Look at us being all nostalgic for the 80s.
I'm sorry. Well, okay. I really hate truisms because there's always like an implicit thing that goes with it that's not being said. But there's something to Stranger Things. The characters in Stranger Things, they are kids being kids. And I know that's bullshit. That's like saying like men being men. Like there's 100 assumptions being made in that asinine assumption. But it's funny. I'm studying cognitive development and things like that in school. And it's so interesting that all of these readings I'm doing, it's hard not to compare it to real life and what I see in the world. And when you go through stages of development, like, oh, well, that's being deprioritized and that's being deprioritized. And when kids are on their phone for more than an hour a day, that's being deprioritized. And that's perennial, right? Like, I remember my dad telling me, like, his father treated comic books being in the house almost as if it was pornography, and when we were growing up, like, TV was potentially evil. Certainly D&D was deemed evil. And these are all for different reasons. So I don't want to go like phones are the death of children and creativity. They're definitely a problem.
Yeah, people of our age would stay up all night talking on our Garfield phones,
for sure.
Yeah, so like that, it's like maybe like a proto very online lifestyle.
Sure. But I mean, the second you stop going outside, the second you find more and more and more excuses not to use your body, like using Zoom, like watching other people play Call of Duty on television, on YouTube, whatever, you're just sort of lacking something very primal about being human that I don't want to be too essentialist, but I think it's pretty fucking right on that you have a body and a mind that you might want to use in dynamic ways that they were kind of designed to do.
Yeah. Like I'm back to my Half Gracie training, but I'm over in Berkeley and they have like kids classes, right? And the kids classes are going on right before
your kid can get ringworm too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sorry, I derailed you. What were you saying?
I bet that school has a higher incident of ringworm just because there's so many kids. Gross.
Yeah.
But anyway, like you watch these kids. First of all, children doing jujitsu is hilarious to watch. It's like the best.
Well, like how old?
Like young, like 8 to 11.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and sometimes like a couple even really, really younger, like, like 6 and 7 year olds are paired up.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's full on like kids classes. And it's amazing watching some of them like hit moves that are like so fluid and advanced. Because when you learn stuff at that age, you just get it. Like I watched this little kid throw a triangle on somebody. I was like, oh, he's like a world champion.
Oh, cool.
Like, it was just cool to see. But I was like just kind of interested because I'd never seen kids classes in person before because I don't know that they even had them in San Francisco at the house.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they did. But it was interesting seeing like jiu-jitsu parents sitting on the sideline and the way that like soccer moms would sit on the sideline. And I noticed how like really astute the kids seemed. Like all the kids in the class didn't have that zombie look that a lot of children I see have, like this sort of like slack-jawed like pudginess. They all seemed like really like sharp kids.
Well, because they're all just teetering on the edge of being murdered by another kid.
Yeah, it's
you
awesome.
Better stay awake.
Yeah, that's like that's an argument for bullying. You have to have those fucking those predators on the side to keep the herd lean.
No.
Yeah. Hopefully, all these little kids become super bullies and go out and just enact vengeance upon the weak in their own schools.
Oh God.
I mean, if hopefully it's good.
Okay, I have to do this once every few episodes. That is Chad speaking, not Marc.
Yeah. Oh, I know you're like probably advocating for some sort of safe space for two-spirit dolphin can or whatever the fuck you people are into.
I hadn't thought of that, but all right. I'm gonna look into that one.
But yeah, so I think the thing about like you saying like the body's in motion or whatever, like or like we've been in the climbing gym and seen little kids just like monkey up the walls.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're like, Jesus Christ, and they just fall off like face first. And they're like, oh, I missed that one. They're not crying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I missed that one piece of that problem. And I just think those kids are going to have a better time in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Mormons do a similar thing with public speaking.
Fucking Mormons.
I fucking love them, dude. Look, if I ever convert to a religion, it's like one of two things. It's going to be Sunni Islam or Mormonism,
all right,
depending on where in the world I live. I just like the Islamic philosophers. I like their militaristic, like especially the 12th century guys. Like they have these very like cut and dry ideas. Like like if you see evil, you should fight it. And if you cannot fight it, you should speak against it. And if you cannot speak against it, you should hate it in your heart. I was like, that is awesome. Like, that's so cool. instead of like, hey man,
You should cancel it.
Turn the other cheek, man. That fucking slave religion.
Thank you, Nietzsche. Oh, what else have we got for this? This is a Stranger Things episode,
yeah,
right?
Stranger Things 4.
Yeah,
right? Back to Stranger Things 4.
Okay. Another sneering. Sorry, I had to interrupt. The Mean Girls. That's another just like seething, sneering. Yeah, we get it. They're mean girls. We get it. They're bullies.
Yeah, what a little bitch Will is, though. You know what I mean? Like, usually in that scenario where somebody's being bullied, they're by themselves, right?
Yeah.
She's got her boy there, like that fucking bowl cut commando, and he does nothing. He doesn't even like. He's absolutely worthless.
I did think it was a cop out that one of the mean girls, or maybe it was a boy, but one of the mean kids had a camcorder to record it. It's obvious what they were doing. They were trying to make it contemporary, that this is documented and going to be shared and there's this extra layer of exploitation and cruelty, but it was also unrealistic.
Yeah, like how would you distribute that video?
Well, also it was just this layer that just seemed to try to contemporize it instead of let it be what it is.
Yeah. I don't like the writing for Eleven's character in that situation. Like, I don't think she would go rah and like stick her finger or hand out at them or whatever and try to like nuke them, especially knowing her power. She already knew the powers were gone, right?
She might have been so full of rage that she forgot herself.
Yeah. The one thing that I like when she hit the girl in the face with the roller skates.
That was the best part of the whole season.
Because my thing about her is like, she has killed dozens of people in just the first 3 seasons. You know, like she is like a murderer. And I think that like she would have like a detached perspective on what was right and wrong in those scenarios. And they kind of do it with her costuming. I watched this explanation of how they costumed everybody. And you see she's wearing like a dress that she thinks is a girl dress, but she's also has like Will's shirt underneath it because it's just things that she likes that she's put together, and she's such an outsider. I would have liked to seen a little bit more like, what's that show where the girl is trained by her father to be like an assassin in the woods?
Hannah.
I would have liked to see like more of a Hannah vibe with her.
Yeah.
Instead of like a totally helpless. I mean, they have her like borderline Forrest Gump in her letters. You're like, I went to school and it was fine. I love you so much, Will, or whatever her boyfriend is. You know, like, what is she like? She's a sling blade now? Like, what's going on?
I am curious about the roller skating thing, because one thing about when you do something that is period and you're trying to be period correct is that, like, let's say, for example, a soundtrack of a movie that takes place in 1987, all the music isn't going to be from 1987. People are still listening to the fucking Beatles. You know what I mean? But I did find it odd. Like, roller skating was so not cool by the mid 80s. But at the same time, maybe in small towns where there's nothing else for teenagers to do, of course they're going to still go to the roller rink. I was curious about that.
Yeah, so I would say it was still going strong in Louisiana. But like back then, Louisiana was like 10 years behind everything.
Right.
And that's what I was mentioning earlier. It would have been cool if there was like a bit more of like a Bones Brigade vibe. Because like that was like, because they kind of have this whole thing about like, oh, where Eleven's at is like the knife edge of cool. And Argyle makes that comment about the character's OP shirt not being real. And he's like, oh, that's, not cool. Like he bought it at the airport or whatever. And so you set up this thing where like there's like this, like in Mad Men when Don Draper goes to LA, he's like, everything's new, everything's different. Like it would have been cooler to have like an edge of culture feel to it instead of, but I mean, they went John Hughes, or tried to anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, Stephen King's Z-Boys would have been like my jam, I think.
Can I now raise my biggest complaint about the entire series?
Yeah.
The use of that Kate Bush song. So Kate Bush is one of my favorite artists. That is one of my favorite albums. That is one of my favorite songs. And I kind of have 2 complaints about it. One is I am deeply, deeply sick of the needle drop. It's something that's been running through cinema as long as soundtracks have been able to insert commercial music into the soundtracks. So it's nothing new. But the way we've been stuck in these retro moments with TV and film and everything that you and I have been addressing for the entire length of this podcast, Retromania and nostalgia, we're really stuck in it, and we can't seem to get unmoored from the problems that it presents for culture and for art. And one part of that is the needle drop. And the needle always drops on an 80s pop song. It seems that we can't get out of this thing of that you're just watching a movie and just suddenly out of nowhere, a song that you're very, very familiar with from the 80s explodes into the soundtrack, and it does cinematic lifting that the movie can't do on its own. And it used to be a style choice, and now it's just a lazy decision. You know, it's similar to what's happening now with how so many movies or TV series in the first episode, there'll be like an action sequence and then it'll say 12 hours earlier or 1 year earlier. Like, why do all movies and TV shows now start with an event and then you have to backtrack for the main plot? It just seems to be this device that is a lazy way to insert action into the first scene.
I love how Rick and Morty shits on that.
Yeah.
In the Purge, Look Who's Purging Now episode, when he goes up there and like the old man in the tower reads him his story, and it's just every bad hacky trope in one story. He's like, I think stories should start where they begin. And, you know, like, I'm not a big fan of the whole flashback thing.
Yep.
I kept thinking about that whole scene through this whole season when I watched it. Because it's like, because, you know, the method of her being instructed through the videotapes is straight up Morty's mind benders. Like the episode where, like, if you're not a huge Rick and Morty fan, there's an episode where the mechanism for inserting all these zany flashbacks is that they just stick a tube on his head that's like these previously extracted and erased memories, and they just play all these zany scenes. And that's exactly what happens in this. And I also think like the flashback explaining like where the dude came from just sucks. Like all the, like the, I guess is it like the 1950s or something like that?
I think that
the Robert Englund stuff, because he's a veteran of a war in France, which to me means World War II.
Right. Maybe.
Sure. You know? Yeah, I guess.
Why not? But yeah, again, imagine if that screenwriter in that Rick and Morty episode was like, and suddenly Love My Way by Psychedelic Furs plays while our protagonist is walking through a field of corn. You know, just like,
but again,
why?
Like everything, though, it can be done well and it can be done poorly. Like in the exact same episode of Rick and Morty, Look Who's Purging 2, there's that hilarious Tony, It Feels Good montage where they're just murdering all the aristocrats of the world to that song.
But in that, there is a tension, an absurd tension between what is happening on screen and what the soundtrack is doing. So the soundtrack isn't doing all of the work. In the circumstances that I'm complaining about, it's where the work of the filmmakers is nil, and all you got to do is watch some kid wander around a high school while this one of the most amazing songs ever written plays, and suddenly there's this like gravity and this weight that's happening cinematically. And it's like, it's not actually cinematic. It's just that song. And at some point, every single pop song from the 80s is going to be used in that exact way in some movie or TV show.
What do you don't want Kate Bush to get that paper?
I think Kate Bush should absolutely get that paper, but the act of doing it is just, to my mind, unbearably lazy filmmaking. And then it's hard for me not to attach to the whole phenomenon that it set off, which is 10 million TikTok and Instagram videos of people doing completely banal stuff and using that same song. And it just, you know, it is hard for me not to concede that, yes, I'm still a person who gets annoyed when the normies get hold of things I hold dear. But it suddenly is, that song is the backdrop for so much banality online, and it just makes me sad. But it is an amazing song. I had never heard that song
before.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't listen to women's music, but I'm just kidding. I have any tolerance for that little fair shit.
Whoa, not even close, dude.
She's not, Kate Bush isn't in, she's not in Annie DeFranco's band?
Amazing. No. No.
But yeah, I was just not familiar with it. I mean, it was for whatever.
Do you not know about Kate Bush?
No, I listened to some of her music and I was like, oh, I see why people like this. But, you know, I was just like, I was at that time, fucking thrash metal for your boy Chad,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. That's fair.
And then back then, like, you know, I was like for whatever reason, I was really just committed not listening to the radio. I just thought it was fucking like mind
Well, she wasn't
control.
on the radio in America too much.
Right. Well, so there's that.
A little bit, but not really.
So for me in Louisiana, there was like I wasn't around anybody who would have been listening to that, you know?
Right.
So if the radio was on, even in the background when I was growing up, it was on like some country music station. And when I was able to choose my own music, it was like thrash metal.
Yeah.
Or like Kiss. And back then, like you only had limited funds to buy like a tape. You know, so like you couldn't be like, oh, here's my 13-hour Kate Bush playlist or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
The
Kate
best.
Bush. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, she deserves the money, and she deserves it. Like, people should know. Like, this is a way for people to know about that music, even though I don't think young people should listen to music that old, you know? There's some value there, but also TikTok videos, they're just awful anyway. So
Yeah. I'm back to that. Like under the influence of Schopenhauer and Annie Hardy, I kind of want to like cut off all external sources of entertainment and see what happens.
there are no negative repercussions to
Yeah.
your doing that.
Yeah, it's like the news. I've been off the news again pretty recently. This feels fucking great.
You missed a few good nuggets today.
I know. I missed two pretty big Supreme Court decisions. You know,
Yeah.
Seems like pretty.
You don't
people
wanna
are
know.
Pretty mad that they can't sacrifice their babies to Moloch anymore, or whatever. I think that's what it was. I don't know. I just peeked at Fox.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Stranger Things. Did you have any other notes?
I was thinking about like it's just interesting how they rolled the season out. I think the end of the season is 2 feature-length episodes. Is that how it's going to be?
I think one of them's like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
I think.
it's 2 long episodes. I think it would be really fun if they had a theatrical release of that and fans could just come out and watch it. I think people
It would be cool if it was freestand. If somehow the episode was like a freestanding.
Yeah, or even
like self-contained
I
in
think
some
it
way.
would be awesome. And we have zero influence in Hollywood, but I think if it came out the weekend before in theaters for like 3 days, it would be such a rad like post-COVID like moment because everybody watched the show and binged it through COVID, right? And to come see it with other people at a super spreader event. And I think it would be really fun. Like big and real fans of the show could come out the weekend before, and people would probably get all like Wakanda'd up like they did when they went to see Black Panther. You know, I think people would dress up, and it would be really, really fun. Yeah. That's how I would do it. I think it would be fucking fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're not going to do that because Netflix is going under. Did you see they laid off like 300 people today?
No.
Yeah, I get like a tech news newsletter in my inbox because I'm in the dark world. And yeah, today they laid off like 300 people, like a huge amount of their staff.
Oh, yeah. As soon as they
Go woke, go broke, man. It's the truth.
I think it's because they didn't renew Teenage Bounty Hunters. I think that's the thing that did them in.
You think so?
Pretty much.
They should have like really doubled
Oh,
down.
I'm sorry. I meant Hannah Gadsby.
Oh, her show sold out in Oakland. I think she.
Oh,
made
shocker.
Yeah. It's a lot of.
No. I'm editing that out.
You probably should.
Probably should.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna beep it out. I'm literally
Yeah,
gonna
I
beep.
think
It's just gonna go beep beep
I
beep
think-
beep, and then it's gonna be. We should edit that
We
out.
should totally do that.
Yeah, okay.
See, when I texted you the other day, I said I was always on the right side of history.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh my God. Oh, Hannah. Oh, Nanette.
I still want to watch. I still haven't actually watched it. I feel like I have a feeling, a strong suspicion that if I actually watched those specials, I would probably love them because I like weird shit like that.
I would predict that you would actually get a lot out of it, but the thing that is wrong with it, I think, would enrage you.
What's that girl group that was really terrible? It was like
Pussycat Girls?
the Trogs.
Oh, the Shags.
The Shags. I feel like she might be the Shags of comedy.
Whoa. Okay. It's a bit apples and oranges, but all right.
Yeah.
I think there's a comparison to be made, but
Dude, that Shags album was hot in New Orleans in the late 90s. Yeah. It was like I rolled around.
Explain the Shags.
Okay. So the Shags are these three homely girls who their father thought that, I'll just put
Era.
What is 60s, right?
Yeah.
It's in the 60s. And like these girls, like, I imagine that left to their own devices and letting nature take its course, they would all end up working at the DMV or something, just regular ass Midwestern women. But this father like had this scheme that he could just like make a girl group out of them. And so he just made them start learning instruments. And he paid all this money to have these albums made and recorded, and he like kind of forced them to perform a little bit. But the album is fucking I don't want to say it's terrible because I know people who are really into music who have made arguments that like the beats and chord progressions and stuff like that are like some sort of third dimensional jazz arrangements.
Yeah, they're not.
But yeah, it's awful.
That's like you could empty your silverware drawer on the floor and you could notate it musically. That doesn't make it organized music,
Yeah, but then this isn't.
It doesn't make it jazz.
This isn't the territory of your performance art stuff, though. I think like what's that John? What's his name? That has the music. It's just like him cueing silence for like 3 minutes 14 seconds or whatever.
John Cage.
John Cage, yeah. Like, this is like John Cage.
Well, John Cage literally did music with kitchen utensils, but that's not what I mean. I just mean like listening to incompetently performed music, and you go like, yeah, but if you like pay attention, it's like it's doing this jazz polymetric. Like, no, it's not. It is actually just poorly played.
Oh, it is terrible. Like if you just put it on and listen to it, it would be.
It is painfully bad. It is painfully bad. It's so painfully bad that it's actually fascinating.
It's like kind of like the. To me, it was like one of the first like so bad it's good hipster appreciation albums. Yep. I appreciate it. It's in the vein of like ironically enjoying William Shatner's albums.
Yes.
But I think William Shatner's albums are a bit more high concept in a way that like
there's more competence, but it's as weird.
Yeah. But these are just bad. The recordings are bad. But like if you were like a riot girl lesbian in the Ninth Ward in New Orleans, this was like Sgt. Pepper's to you.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I remember I was like, the first time I ever heard it was at this like, how there's this girl in a band called Ovary Action, which is the best band name I've ever heard. Yeah.
Oh, solid.
Yeah. Like they could have been like a Michelle T. Valencia Street lesbian group.
Like Tribe 8 or something.
Yeah. Totally Tribe 8. Like kind of like
Cypher in the Snow.
Obviously Bikini Kill fans, but like, but in a very particular New Orleans kind of way. There's they were phenomenal people to know. Like they're really fun. And yeah, they would play those albums at house parties and stuff like that. Or that album rather.
Yeah.
I think I might even have it still someplace.
Yeah. Might be worth money.
Maybe. Like I feel like it's a sort was Aquarius Records really into it or no?
I mean, we had it, but I don't feel like I think it might have sort of played itself out by the time I worked there, but I'm sure in the early 90s it might have had a moment or something at Aquarius.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being like a hot commodity there though.
Yeah, I wonder what Andy would say about it.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about the Trogs and 90s lesbian riot girl bands of New Orleans, I think we're probably out of things to say about Stranger Things.
Yeah. I mean, despite how much this had these very specific elements that rubbed me the wrong way really aggressively, there is a part of me that's looking forward to the last 2 episodes. Like
Yeah.
there's enough in the plot, and it's not, I'm not hate watching it. It's not like The Walking Dead where I'm so angry at it, but I'll watch it anyway.
Yeah.
I am still getting pleasure from these characters. And I'm sorry, the soundtrack is fucking incredible. It really is.
It's
I think this
solid.
season.
Yeah.
I think this season cranked it up a notch. Except for the part where they put these aggressive sweeping strings over. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I have another complaint, and it's. I didn't get a chance to fully. My Kate Bush rant is the like. Oh, if you listen to your favorite song, it can protect you from the evil. Weak ass shit. That is terrible writing.
Well, that's like, to me, that all that stuff is not directly lifted, but really has like an homage to Nightmare on Elm Street feel to it. Like the characters are in a dream state, and there's like a thing that is like personal to them that like protects them, like Nightmare on Elm Street 3. You know,
right.
although they all it never works for any of them. But that sort of thing. If you were to be sucked out of a dream state and protected by a song, what song would it be?
Probably like a Foreigner song, like something that is like insipidly triumphant and overcoming. Songs that are about like taking it to the streets or Doobie Brothers, whatever.
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever heard a Doobie Brothers song.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You haven't lived.
Yeah, probably not.
Oh, as soon as we finish recording, we are listening to the Doobie Brothers.
Oh, that's painful.
No,
Can we wait
they're
till
the
I'm back on
greatest.
drugs?
No. Well, okay.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get ripped on Doobies and listen to the Doobie Brothers.
All right. That'll be sweet.
I cannot wait.
And if this were a movie, just suddenly it would be like really loud.
Crystal's trying to get me to go to New York for my birthday.
You should. When's your birthday?
September 6th.
Oh, I'll be there the next week.
Oh, interesting. I don't want to go because we're going to Tulum in November. I don't think we can afford both because we wiped out our finances redoing our place. But we need to do a really close to me smoking weed again episode, like a back on it. Like first, because like I tell you what, dude, September 6th, it's fucking on. Like I'm going to dab my face off.
Okay, so I would like to encourage our listeners to write in to WHATTHE at scarythoughts.org and tell us what movie or TV show or whatever we should cover when Chad rediscovers his love of cannabis.
Well, I haven't rediscovered but I've
saying.
actually really realized how much I like it.
Yeah.
Like off of this, I went and bought a fancy pipe from the ceramic lady next door to my place today. So just in anticipation.
Well, you're already getting ready.
Oh yeah, I'm getting ready. I have like playlists picked out, things I'm going to listen to.
This is addict behavior bullshit.
Oh,
to me.
it totally is. One of the things I'm really looking forward to is like post jujitsu, super high yoga stretching at home.
That actually sounds great.
It's pretty great, Yeah. So I got my stretching routine ready, and then I'm just going to listen to like hours of Iron Maiden while I do yoga.
Huh.
That's what I
can't connect any of that, but
I think my song that would rip me out of it is For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica. That opening riff, that dong, and like the opening riff, like I think that you would not be able to resist. And James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett's brilliance. I was so disappointed in seeing them all hugging on stage the other day, though.
What do you mean?
Oh, James Hetfield got up there and was like crying about how sometimes he felt old and the band really brought him through it, and everybody came up and hugged him. It was such a Dave Grohl moment.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Why can't people stay hard, man?
He's had way too much therapy to stay hard.
I know, it ruins you.
Publicly.
It fucking ruins you. It's terrible.
Thanks for the encouragement.
I'm not saying not to go get paid doing it. I'm just saying that like if you got some edge on you, sometimes the shitty things you did to your parents are what make you interesting. Or they did to you or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't think all trauma needs to be processed. I think it should be harnessed.
I don't actually disagree with that.
Yeah. I think I should go to therapy school and
Yeah, you should.
do like a Sith path.
What's that?
Like, like there's the Jedi and the Sith. Is there like a Sith path?
Why would you bring up Star Wars? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm like off Star Wars, right? Like I will never watch any more Star Wars shit ever again.
Yeah, well, we've discussed doing an episode of Scary Thoughts called Star Wars is Child Abuse, which I'm not against doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm against child abuse and I'm against Star Wars. So I'm for that episode. But I'm sorry I interrupted you, Sith. I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's
the bad guys in Star Wars have a different philosophy that is a bad guy philosophy.
Are they like dark Jedis? Is that what a Sith is?
Yeah, I think they're like the Nietzschean side of the Force, I think.
Do they have evil bugs in their bloodstream?
That's a great question. They probably do. Well, I guess they just have the regular bugs. They just go bad.
It's the worst.
Since the character that has the most bugs in his system becomes Darth Vader.
Okay.
Yeah. But
why'd you bring up the Sith?
Oh, I was just like an anti-therapy. Like me. Like whatever they do in Dagestan is what I'm into.
I don't know what that is either.
That's where Khabib Nurmagomedov is from. It's
don't know
like the
what that is
Caucasus
either.
region of Russia that produces.
This is not Star Wars
No.
anymore.
Yeah. This is real life. This is where all those like Russian MMA fighters come from.
Okay.
Like the Islamic ones.
Yeah.
Like I think whatever their culture is the way to live. They appear to just like wrestle bears and do jujitsu all day. It seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And there's a lot of AK-47s and like mid-80s BMWs, it seems.
I don't know that there's a lot that we can point to Russia and say, that's the way to do it.
I mean, martial arts.
Yeah, maybe.
Chess.
Fair.
Hot political bands. Like Pussy Riot.
How often do you listen to Pussy Riot?
I've never been able to tolerate more than 6 seconds of that band, but I will look at a lot of pictures of Nadia Riot naked. No problem. I can't believe they still go to Russia. I would never set foot in that country if I was them.
No.
They're the most punk rock people alive, in my opinion.
Maybe.
Yeah. Them and Kanye West.
It's like the last 10 things you said have made me more upset than the Supreme Court
Look,
decisions.
all I'm saying is Kanye West, if he was president, would have solved that Ukraine shit with the quickness. Drop an album. Give Putin like an 8-bar segment. World peace.
Thanks for listening. Okay, we got to do the intro.
Oh, shit.